So, have you ever stopped and wondered what the cloud actually is? We hear this term thrown around all the time, but let's be honest, it can feel a little vague. Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on cloud computing, what it is, how it really works, and why it has been such a massive game changer for pretty much all of modern technology.
To really wrap our heads around the cloud, we first have to understand the problem it was built to solve. You see, before the cloud, if your company needed more computing power, you had to go out and buy it. All of it. And that old way of doing things was incredibly expensive and, honestly, just not very flexible.
And this slide right here shows the huge economic shift at the heart of it all. On the left, you've got the old way. Capital expenditure, or CapEx. We're talking massive upfront costs. Buying land, building a whole data center, filling it with servers, a huge investment. Now look at the right. That's the new way. Operational expenditure, or OpEx. This is more like your electric bill. It's a consumption-based model where you just pay for the services as you use them. And that shift right there is the financial engine that makes the cloud possible.
So with that big money shift in mind, we can get to a proper definition of cloud computing. At its core, it's just the delivery of all those computing services, servers, storage, databases, the whole shebang, over the internet. And it uses that pay-as-you-go OpEx model we just talked about. The bottom line? No more giant upfront bills. I absolutely love this quote because it just cuts through all the jargon. Seriously, forget the fancy terms for a minute. The simplest way to think about it is this. You're just renting the compute power and storage you need from a gigantic, professionally run data center that's owned by somebody else, like Amazon or Google or Microsoft. And when you're done, you just give it back and stop paying. It's really that straightforward.
Okay, so you're on board. You're going to rent instead of buy. Awesome. The next big question is, where does this infrastructure live and who else gets to use it? This brings us to your first major decision, the cloud deployment model.
And you've got three main flavors to choose from here: public, private, and hybrid. So let's just break down what each one means for you in terms of cost, how much control you have, and who you're sharing the space with.
This table lays it all out. A public cloud is kind of like the classic rental car model. It's shared, anyone can use it, you pay as you go, and the provider handles all the maintenance. A private cloud is the total opposite. It's like owning your own car. It's dedicated just to you, so you have complete control, but you also have to buy and maintain all the hardware. And then there's hybrid, which, you guessed it, just connects the two, letting you get the best of both worlds to perfectly balance your costs and security needs.
All right, so you've picked where your cloud is going to live. The next big choice you have to make is all about how much of the nitty-gritty work you actually want to manage yourself versus how much you want to just hand off to the provider. This is what we call the cloud service model.
Let's start at the ground level with Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS. Think of this like leasing a completely empty warehouse. The cloud provider gives you the building, the electricity, the security, the basic infrastructure. But it's totally up to you to install all the shelving, organize your inventory, and manage everything that goes on inside. It gives you the most flexibility and control.
So when would you actually use IaaS? Well, a super common one is what's called a lift and shift. That's where you basically just move your existing data center as is onto the cloud's rented hardware. It's also fantastic for creating temporary testing and development environments that you can fire up when you need them and shut down when you don't.
Now let's move one level up to Platform as a Service, or PaaS. This is a really nice middle ground. Here, the provider manages the hardware and they take care of the operating systems, the databases, and all the underlying tools. All you have to worry about is your own application and your data.
PaaS is an absolute dream for developers. It gives them a complete framework to build, test, and deploy their applications without ever having to stress about the infrastructure underneath. It's also great for running really powerful analytics tools to sift through your data and find those hidden gems of insight.
And finally, we get to the top of the pyramid. Software as a Service, or SaaS. And look, this is the one that most of us are using every single day, probably without even realizing it. With SaaS, you're not building a thing. You're just using a finished, ready-to-go product. It's all managed for you, so it requires the least amount of technical skill.
Just think about it for a second. Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, Salesforce, that app you use for your online banking. These are all perfect examples of SaaS. You just log in and start using the software.
The provider handles absolutely everything else behind the scenes.
Okay, so all these different service models, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, they bring up a really, really important question. When you move to the cloud, who's responsible for what? The line can get a little blurry, so let's make it crystal clear.
This chart lays it out perfectly. Look over at IaaS on the left. See how much of that is marked You? You are managing a ton of stuff from the OS on up. But as you slide across the table to PaaS, and then all the way to SaaS, you can see the provider takes on more and more responsibility. You're essentially trading your direct control for the provider's convenience.
But here's the bottom line. And if you remember one thing, make it this. No matter which model you choose, you are always responsible for these three things: the information and data you store, the phones and computers that connect to it, and the accounts and identities of the people who use it. That responsibility never, ever goes away. Now, on the flip side, the cloud provider is always responsible for the physical stuff, the actual building security, the power, the cooling, the network cables, and the physical servers everything runs on. You never have to worry about a server overheating in a locked closet again. That's their headache, not yours.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. But why? Why go through all of this? What's the big deal? What's the ultimate payoff for moving to the cloud?
Well, the benefits are just immense. You get systems that are more reliable and available than most companies could ever hope to build on their own. You get world-class security. You also get predictability, both in how much things will cost and how they'll perform. And on top of all that, you get powerful tools to make managing everything so much simpler.
And let's just zoom in on one of the coolest benefits of all: scalability. This is your ability to adjust your resources to meet demand almost instantly. You can scale vertically or scale up, which is like making one server bigger and more powerful. Or you can scale horizontally or scale out, and this is what the cloud is famous for, by just adding more servers to share the work. If your app suddenly goes viral, you can automatically scale out to handle millions of users, and then scale right back in when things quiet down, only paying for the extra power you actually used.
So when you put it all together, the pay-as-you-go model, the different levels of service, this incredible global scale, it becomes pretty clear. The cloud isn't just about renting servers, it's about renting superpowers. It gives anyone, from a lone developer in their garage to a huge global company, the power to build things that were once completely unimaginable. The only question left is, what will you build with it?